Palestinians.
All right, but Cenk, let me just jump in. But before I go back to Douglas' response to this.
Let me reply to that, Piers.
Yeah, I will let you reply to that. On this issue of genocide, do you accept, though, that Hamas's whole raison d'etre when it comes to Israel is genocide? They want to eradicate Israel and kill as many Jews as they can. I mean, they've made no secret of this.
Yeah, so this is really important. So I have no sympathy for Hamas. So I'm not interested in defending Hamas. I think that's nothing but a distraction. Because right now they're not fighting Hamas. They're just killing Palestinian civilians.
Well, they're also killing Hamas terrorists. They are. I mean, they're killing thousands of them.
Barely. No, wait a minute. Barely. But let's go to your main point, okay? So the main point is, well, Hamas threatens X, Y, and Z and has killed 1,200 people on October 7th. So that is why we have to all worry about what Hamas might do in regards to trying to... Hold on, let me finish the point. Let me finish the point. At what they might do if they had infinite power, the kind of power that Israel has. Meanwhile, Israel is actually doing the genocide, is actually preventing a Palestinian state and saying you are not allowed to exist, and if you dare try to exist, we'll kill 20,000 of your children and women.
All right, Douglas, respond to that.
Several things. First of all, anyone who uses the term genocide in this context simply doesn't know what they're talking about or is a malevolent actor. I don't know if Mr. Uyghur's traveled at all in his life, how far he's traveled, how many conflicts he's seen, but I'd have guessed none. And you clearly know nothing about this particular conflict, and you've obviously seen none of it. The genocide that you describe is such a smear and a libel against the Jewish state. If Israel wanted to commit genocide, I'm sure it could, but it doesn't. It doesn't remotely want to. And people like you and other pro-Palestinian propagandists have spent years claiming that Israel is committing genocide in the Gaza. By the way, the weirdest thing about this claim is that the population of the Gaza has grown by 1 million in the last 15 or so years. So if Israel was trying to carry out a genocide, it's either the worst perpetrator of genocide ever or uniquely poor at performing that task. None of the stats support that ridiculous claim. And it's such a weird smear and a libel of Israel. Secondly, of course, you've just rattled off Hamas figures, as every one of your kind always does. Thirdly, you said that the world cried, you said that the people like you who cover for the Palestinian extremists. Thirdly, you said that the world cried out for the 36 Israeli dead children. No, they didn't. And you know that very well. You know that very well. If you put up a poster to a missing dog in any Western city, that poster stays up. In city after city in America, posters of abducted Jewish children, including a 10-month-old baby, were put up and were ripped down by people who have been indoctrinated into hate of Jews. Nobody would rip down the poster of a missing dog, but from Dublin to Berkeley, they ripped down posters of abducted Jewish children. So no, I don't think there was
Douglas,
very much care for that around the world.
Let me put this to you, Douglas.
Let me make two other very quick points. Firstly, you said what Hamas might do, as if it was some kind of hypothetical. Hamas showed what they do, what they want to do. It showed it on October the 7th, and its leadership, as I'm sure you very well know, said that they would like to repeat that again and again until they have got rid of every Jew. So, I don't know. I would trust Hamas's word on that rather than your interpretation of what you think they mean when they say that, and your generous interpretation of what you think that means. And finally, as for preventing a Palestinian state, it is nonsense that the Israelis have prevented a Palestinian state. They gave the Gazans a Palestinian state in 2005. They gave them a Palestinian state in 2005 when every Jewish person was ripped from their homes in the Gaza by IDF soldiers. And the Palestinian people were given a state. And what did they do? They voted in Hamas, who then killed their fellow Palestinians, never had another election, and used all the billions of dollars of taxpayer funds from the US, UK, and Europe to build terror tunnels and to enrich themselves so they could live the life of luxury in Qatar. Again and again, the reason there is not a Palestinian state is because the Palestinian leadership doesn't want one.
Okay, Douglas,
didn't want one in 1947, it preferred war, and it doesn't want one now.
Douglas,
Wow, 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 wow. Piers Morgan bringing together Douglas Murray and Cenk Uygur, who I affectionately call Cenk the Jenk from the Young Turks, the Young Jerks. Nice coup for peers to put these two together, and they did not disappoint at all. And all I can say, folks, is that as far as Douglas Murray is concerned and Cenk Uygur, well, guess what, folks? Check and mate goes to Douglas Murray. The fat lady is singing somewhere, folks. Oh, she is singing. She has sung the song because Cenk got crushed. Cenk the Jenk got decimated. Cenk the Jenk got destroyed. All he came up was emotions. All he came up, basically, was the same old rattle that comes, from the progressive side, from the liberal side, trying to tug at the emotional strings. And it is absolutely heartbreaking on both sides. Palestinian side, the Israeli side, the death, the destruction, loss of life, young, innocent children, young, innocent babies. We all know that and we feel it. But what Cenk has got to realize is that you can't keep going back to the past. You can't keep going back to the future and trying to, unwind everything that was done. You can't. Israel is there. The land is there. The Jews are there. They're going to stay there. You're not going to get rid of them. You're not moving anybody out. And a few things, I just took some notes down here, is that where did Douglas get? Again, it's that velvet glove that comes on with the force of a sledgehammer, whereas Cenk uses just absolutely his brute force, that brute energy that you can just feel. It's like, it's like the Thing on Fantastic Four or the Hulk, although he's already the Hulk. That brute force, that passion, it just comes right out immediately. Whereas Doug just sort of, he sits back, and that velvet glove, and next thing you know is, what the heck happened there? That hurt. What the heck's going on, man? That thing is, that stings. And then the crushing blow of the sledgehammer wrapped in velvet. And what the heck happened there? He said to Cenk, Douglas says, I've traveled. I've been to the war spots. I've put my life on the line. I've talked to the people on the ground, both Palestinians and Jewish people, and everybody in between. Where have you been, Cenk, except basically just in your room, in your production room, in your studio? Have you gone there? Have you been to Israel? Have you been to the front lines? Have you been to Gaza, the West Bank? No, of course you haven't. You just sit there and pontificate from your throne in your studio, throwing out words and nonsensical questions. Then whose figures are you using? Hamas's figures? We're going to trust Hamas now? That's who we're going to trust? We're going to trust those figures coming out? We know there's been death and destruction on the Palestinian side, that collateral damage, but they knew they knew that Israel was going to retaliate. They knew that. And then, in terms of where he talked about where Jen came out and said that they were crying before when the 32 Israeli children were killed. And I didn't hear any of that. I'd like to stand corrected, but you know what? Cenk the Jen, can you provide anything? Did you talk about it at that time? Did you talk about it? Douglas Murray says he didn't hear anything about that. No outcries then. And why is it only for the Palestinian cause? Why is it not Uyghur? China, that's a last thing. There's almost 2 to 3 million. It's contested numbers. 2 to 3 million Uyghur Muslims in China, in concentration camps. They're the ones that are being, it's a much more horrific scene than even what's happening in the Hamas Israeli-Palestine crisis. It's an unbelievable thing that's going on over there. Crickets from the young jerks. Nothing at all. Nothing from any other country, nothing from any other Muslim country. The Uyghur Muslims or Chinese. Who cares about the Uyghurs? You know, who cares about them? Oh no, we're going to go protest all the way around the world for the Palestinian cause. And then talking about the posters of the children that have been kidnapped or missing. And these are posters of Israeli babies and young children that are being put all across the world, buildings, you know what I'm talking. They're being ripped off, being stomped on, burned or thrown away or whatever. And Douglas says they wouldn't even do that to a missing animal, a missing cat, a missing dog. They wouldn't do that to. But you've got Palestinian propagandists and pro-Palestinian people in the march and just ripping posters down and throwing them away. I mean, who does that? On and on and on and on I could go in terms of how Douglas literally dismantled Cenk Uygur. If he was trying to get any type of sympathy on his side, he colossally failed, folks. Colossally he failed. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already and we've earned your subscription, we'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. Hope you liked our content. Check out all of our other videos. You know what to do. Like, share, and follow us. Check out our links above and below. My final thought, as always, when you're right, you're right. And Douglas definitely was right. When you're left, as Cenk Uygur is from the Young Turks, he's wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.